I think that we are live. Thank you all for coming so short notice, if you will. I had toyed around with the idea of doing a show on this topic for the last couple of days. It's really just kind of the candy to lure you in, because the show's really not just about this flesh-eating bacteria that has got everybody in Australia up in arms about. It's not just about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Israel today. We're going to talk a little bit about the what's going on in the world today and all the doomsday fears. But first, before we get into all that, I want to make sure we're actually on. Last week, oh, okay, cool. Everybody's in the chat. What's going on, everybody? I'm going to say hi. Hi. Look at that. And I just sent that out, and you saw it. It's crazy. Crazy technology, man. I really, really like this live stream feature. I am sorry that I haven't, gotten to everybody and told everybody, look, I'm going to be going live at normal time. It's like, what, 3:22? It's kind of goofy, right? But we got to talk about what we got to talk about today. And I'm glad that you're here. I want to thank everybody for showing up and everybody who's watching this, most likely on the replay, unless this gets flagged. Yeah, so no one knows how to stop this flesh-eating disease in Australia. Oh, man, right? What a great topic. How disgusting. Who wants to talk about it? Flesh-eating bacteria. It's like my nightmare, man. I mean, it's like, because I have Crohn's disease and I've had surgeries and I've been in and out of the hospital my whole life. I was always worried about getting that, that one time when they're doing that procedure and I get that little flesh-eating bug that then just eats into all of me. And, oh, God, and I start to look like something from The Walking Dead. I don't even want to talk about it. But, here I am, right? Because I thought, what else? What else could get everybody here and get everybody excited? But, a flesh-eating ulcer epidemic that is in Australia. And scientists just don't have an answer. It's crazy, man, right? People are coming home. You got this little abrasion. Next thing you know, it's like eating their whole arm off, right? So I wonder, what's that all about? So I start digging into it. I start looking at it, and I'm listening to the interviews that they're having, and they're telling the public, that it's now about to reach epidemic proportions, and that everybody needs to, stay indoors, don't do anything, don't go outside. You may get this flesh-eating bug. Because, of course, it seems like everything in the media today is all about keeping us trapped indoors. People are getting, deficient from vitamin D. Isn't that crazy? There are people that... I had a viewer who contacted me and didn't even know what happened. They couldn't walk. Next thing you know, they're in the hospital. And they were, so deficient in vitamin D. I mean, all you got to do is walk outside and you're okay, people. But I guess... I don't know. The day that we're in right now, it doesn't seem that people are really living, and that's really what the show's about. You're going to find that out soon. But let me read a little bit about this crazy flesh-eating ulcer that is now spreading. It's described as a rapidly worsening epidemic. For those that don't understand what that means, it means that it is quickly getting worse. They use these big scary words to make you get all freaked out. But there aren't that many cases, people, okay? So let's just put this in perspective. We're looking at something like 500 cases right now, or something like that. In any event, it's known as the Burlai or ulcer. The infectious disease initially appears as a small red lump that closely resembles a pimple or an insect bite. Interesting. I wonder if it could just be an insect bite. And it itches, and it looks like it, for example. That's the first thing. But compared to other flesh-eating bacteria that are necrotizing fasciitis, which basically, just kills your flesh. It deadens everything. It doesn't allow the new cells to form. So it continues to basically kill off the cells that are all around the womb. You know, not the womb, the wound, I should say, and the womb. Why not? You know, that'd be gross, but whatever. Let me see. O'Brien said that the disease can sometimes eat away a whole limb or a part of the body. The ulcer can even affect the bones and more. It's mostly common right now in Central and West Africa, but now all of a sudden it's reaching these epidemic levels here. So what's that about? I don't know. When I saw the picture of it, let me see if I can find this picture of it. I immediately thought, man, this kind of looks like a bug bite. You know, it kind of looks like it starts off as a bug bite. I know that's gross, right? I'm going to pull that away right now. I'm going to do it again just to take a look at that. Are you eating? Are you on your break right now? Are you? Take a bite. Take a bite of your sandwich. Take a bite of your sandwich and look at that picture. Okay, but it starts off like that. Kind of looks like a bug bite. I mean, kind of, right? Well, so then I start thinking about these genetically engineered mosquitoes. I did a show on this. I think it was probably about a year ago, where I said that, they were about to release these in Florida. And I said, oh man, what could possibly go wrong, right? Genetically modified mosquitoes. Okay, so basically what they're doing is they give the host, the fly, the mosquito, the male, they give it this bacteria. It's called Walbachia. It's the male-killing, gender-bending, gonad-eating bacteria. That's not really its definition, but I thought that was a pretty cool description of it. And basically, what they're doing is they're giving this to... they've released these flies that are infected with this, and back in 2012, I think, was the first news of it, where they released all of these genetically modified males out there to mate with the females, and then what would happen is then the females would then produce offsprings that either have the bacteria, they all have the bacteria, but then it would then transmit that, and so basically they die off. Okay, they basically they can't reproduce anymore, but they just die off. They live their little lives as little mosquitoes, and then they're done. And they say that this is a humane way of doing it. Actually, I printed up some stuff. I'm not going to bore you with all the crazy details, but when they were releasing this, I thought, if this is what if it can transmutate, or what if the genes can cross over? So like, what if these little mosquitoes, they actually can transmit that same bacterium into the cells around the host. So if they bite you on the leg, what if that bacterium can somehow... Now I know they're not talking about that, and I know that this is probably a huge leap to go from genetically modified mosquitoes that are meant to cull the population so that you don't have any more crazy Zika outbreaks, right? Which, look, go back and watch my show on this if you want the ins and the outs of this stuff. But, the chemicals that they're using, the DEET, the stuff that we slather on our skin, stuff's really not good for you, like really bad for you. So this is probably one of the reasons why, they've gotten so much funding to do this. The crazy part, though, is they don't really know what's going to happen when, a couple of generations down the line, and maybe there's a flesh-eating bacteria or a disease that's going around and just devastating the area. Numbers are exploding, said O'Brien, who was the article's lead author. 2017, there were 275 reported cases, a 51 increase from 2016. O'Brien said, additionally, the number of cases classified as severe have doubled in the past 5 or 6 years. As I said before, these aren't like staggering numbers, but still, they're a little, I guess, disheartening, considering if it could have something to do with, the couple of generations that have passed since this was released. Who's to say that, you can't just, You can't just get a little bug bite on your leg, and which is what it kind of looks like. You know, let me see if I can find that picture again. I mean, it kind of does look like a bug bite. And the area is itchy and inflamed, and then it just starts to eat away. Now, I'm not going to show you some of these gory pictures because they are gory. And I am leaving that up so I can drink some water because I figure it'll be kind of funny if you have to look at this while I'm drinking. Oh, I hate this. This topic is just so terrible. And we're going to get off it. We're going to get off it really soon. I promise. I promise. So is there a connection? So listen, now this is what I want to do. I want to do something a little different. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you can. Oh, and I just flipped over and save future humanity. Maybe the spores NASA released pretending Mars' atmosphere matters. Oh, geez, right? I mean, who knows what's going on, right? I mean, it's like, it's kind of kooky. Hey, can everybody hear me okay? If you could let me know, if you could give me a thumbs up that you hear me all right and the music's not too loud, that'd be great. Because I really don't want to, I don't want to kill you all. I don't want to kill you all with this. I mean, it's one of those things where last time, oh, good, okay, thank you. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it. And Wes, what's up, brother? How are you? Helen, of course, it is horrible. I know. And it's great. Helen says, it's horrible, and then laugh out loud. It's like, it's horrible. I mean, it is kind of crazy when you start to think about these things. You know, I mean, could it be that this is all, like Frankenstein science that's going wrong? And this is what we have to show for it? I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. I'm going to go into the chat room again, and let's take a look at what some people are saying here. Sherry says it's scary stuff. It is. Yeah. And people are still telling me that I sound great because there's probably a little lag, right? Justine, you're right. It is crazy. And Heather, no, you're the best. You are the best. Mo Green, population control is something, it's definitely something that I've considered, Let me see here. Damn, look at Stephen Johnson. Syndrome from... yeah, I mean, it's like everything today just seems to be a little spooky. But I got something that I want to talk about to you. Especially you all that have been watching and you've been following, because I'm kind of a little excited about this. Okay, so you all watch the same channels I watch, I'm sure. You're all really hooked in and supportive of everybody that really wants to get the truth out there. And a lot of people right now, it's like the world, with the events that are going on in the world, with everything that's going on with the weather, with all the stuff, right? The razor's edge that we seem to be dancing on. All of this stuff together, it's enough to be quite frightening. And there are a lot of channels that say this is it. Everybody's waiting for the world to blow up, and you know that I've been trying to, I went into this moment where I thought to myself, wait a minute, hang on a second. Abraham, he bargained with God, and because he knew that it was kind of like there was a lot of nasty stuff going on in Sodom, right? And things were getting really bad over there. They were getting a flesh-eating bacteria, right? They had released all of these genetically modified mosquitoes, right? and things were going bad, and it was like the weather was crazy. They were getting flooding, and all of a sudden everybody thought that the world was coming to an end. And Abraham's looking at all that's going on in Sodom, and he's thinking, obviously, I'm trying to tie the times together. None of that stuff really happened. But the fact of the matter is, Abraham knew that the destruction of this place was imminent. So he started to say things like, Lord, if there are 50 righteous people, would you spare? And of course, God was like, yeah, 50 people, I'll do it. Well, what about for 30? What about for 20? And God was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll spare it for 20. I'll spare it for that. And Abraham's like, what about 10? Would you do it for 10? And God says, okay. And then Abraham left it at that. And I remember, and if you saw the interview that I just recently had, it was kind of like the first interview I've done. It was a wrestling interview. It was really good if you're into WWE, because I was a writer there from 99 to 2001, when they were at the highest in ratings. It was an awesome time to be in wrestling. And you'll see that I was throwing out a lot of this stuff under the radar. I was talking about this stuff through the guise of a group called Right to Censor. Check that interview out. But the main point of me doing that interview was I reached out to Stevie Richards, and I had said to him, because we work together and we've been friends for years, I said, look, you got to, maybe I'll do that interview today. Let's do that, because I want to go on there and I want to put a different thought out there in people's heads. I want to tell everybody that in a week's time we can start hearing about peace happening around the world. I know it sounded a little nutty. You know, but I mean, see, I had said when this is kind of good. I'm glad I got this picture right here. I had said that, let me see if I can find this. Where are you? There you go. Boom. The Great American Eclipse, right? I had said that we were going to enter a time of great awakening, but at the exact same time, we're going to enter a time of what we would call tribulation. Okay? If you know what tribulation is, don't let all the religious people scare you. Tribulation means, it's another word is, you know, to agitate or to shake up or to stir up. It's like, you know, when something isn't producing, you know, when your tree's not producing in the backyard, or even better, I'll give you an example of what me and the little EE just did. We had a little blight on one of our plants, and I was like, oh, we got to cut it off. So we cut it off, and then we dug around the dirt. We basically, this plant was just all living and just kind of like going with the flow. Didn't know that, you know, it had this little disease creeping up on it, because it didn't know. It didn't know that it was like the path that it was going down was not a great path. So somebody with a little more insight had to come along and dig up the earth around it. And like, you know, probably to the plant was probably like, what's going on? Oh my God, you just cut off one of my limbs, right? But tribulation. It's also that the plant can thrive. And that's basically what's going on. And that's what I was saying when I was talking about these eclipses. Mind you, how many years apart, people? Let's go to the chat room. Can anybody do a little math? How many years apart? Yeah, that's right. Melissa is awake and she says howdy. Howdy to you from North Carolina. Right on. Yeah, I mean, oh, and Heather, thank you very much. People that support the Save the Future and Heather, anybody who supports this and me not asking, believe me when I say it is so helpful, and I'm grateful for it. That's not why I'm doing any of this. That's why I'm not going to do these live streams all the time. What do I think about the 144,000? Well, one, that's what I've been talking about, man. That's what I've been talking about. That's what this has all been about. Remember, just go back and watch the video I just with the Baskin sharks, the 1,400 Baskin sharks, the sharks that are actually the Jonah shark. It's because Jonah was swallowed by a great fish. It wasn't swallowed by a whale. You know, there's symbolism there. Jesus said, I'm going to make you fishers of men. The symbolism, the fish, it's very symbolic of someone who's just swallowing all the crap, you know, and not really paying attention, living in the depths of the sea, which is death. It's like we're just our ignorance. So making fishers of men, you know, basically we're pulling people out of that place. In Scripture, the sea is always consistent with being, you know, the place of the dead. That's why the dead are raised from the sea. That's why Jesus walked above the sea, walked above the water. And it's called the ways of the world. Okay, so Jonah was swallowed by this Baskin shark, which is a huge, second largest fish ever. Makes the most sense. And 1,400 of them were just discovered like off the coast of Long Island, which of course got my attention. So I got to talk about it because I think that 144,000, that number, whether it's a literal number or not, literal number would do just fine if you think about it, really. 144,000 people planted in little places all over the world, positions of power and authority, people that can speak the truth and people can hear it, people that can share a greater insight into what's going on and where we're all from and where we're all going, and help people to get out of the slavery and the prison that is the flesh, that is our carnal experience, our temporal experience, if you will. Yeah, so what do I think, Juan, about the 144,000? I think that it's manifesting right now. It's between that 7-year period, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I said. Go back and watch the videos. I'm not making this stuff up. You know, I'm just well, it's like I'm kind of making it up. I'm not really making it up. I mean, I'm just kind of like, you know, I prayerfully meditate and I think about things and I look at things on a worldly level. So when I came on that show, the conspiracy horsemen, and I told them that I wanted to put this out there, and I wanted to talk about a time of peace right now. Which, by the way, this time of peace that I'm thinking is coming. I'm not a prophet, and I'm not making declarations. So, you know, but you'll be interested in about a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks when more and more info comes out. You know, stuff like, let me see. Right now, today's news, Russian missiles alarm Israel, right? Stoking more fears. It's all about the fears. But look at what else is going on at the exact same time. Boom! North and South Korea reportedly set to announce an official end to war? Really? 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 Like, out of the blue, all of a sudden, in less than a week, we're hearing peace declared? That's a little coincidence. So I get a little excited. I get a little excited because that was kind of like my prayer. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather not the world come to end now. I don't want it to come to end at all. You know what I want? I want a time of 7 years. Give me a time of 7 years, this tribulation. Give me this tribulation. Keep me smack dab in the middle of it so I can just continue to encourage people and help people to get through it. Because, yeah, it's going to get a little hectic. But then at the end of that time, oh man, we're talking, the story gets better, people. So right now, what we're hearing, you know, North and South Korea, they reportedly they're about to announce an end to war. And look at the time. Look at what the timing of this. I mean, you know, the timing is insane. I mean, look at it. The timing of it. Look at what's going on right now. 70 years of independence. 7 years tribulation. 70 years of independence. That's pretty cool. That's some cool stuff. I don't know if there's a connection or not. But it's interesting, don't you think? The 70, this number 7, it's a number of completion, right? But according to the timeline, we may be completing, we'll say we're completing one like phase, you know? If you want to call it the New World Order, the Illuminati, whatever you want to, the hidden hand, the people that are in control. That's true. But see, it doesn't bother me any because I know that we're all just players here. You know, all the world's a stage, and all men and women merely players. They each have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his day plays many parts, the first being the infant mewling and puking. Yeah, I took Shakespeare, right? Full of surprises. All the world's a stage. And in Israel right now, as they're declaring their independence, which, by the way, they had a really cool drone display. If you get a chance to check it out, I didn't get it. I don't know how to work video in these. I can't. I don't know how to do that yet, but it was very cool, very cool. And of course, you know, a lot of people were saying that, of course, the world was supposed to end. I know that happened. It was supposed to happen yesterday. Okay, it didn't. So let's move on. I didn't think it was going to, or any time before it, because the world that has to end, all that's in the world, okay, I wish I pulled the scripture up, all that's in the world, okay, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, and the lust of the eyes. That's it. All that's in the world. So let's replace the end of the world with the end of the lust of the flesh. And what I mean by the lust of the flesh, I don't mean getting turned on by your lady or your man, because the Dan gets Jacob very, very excited. She is a most beautiful woman who I am incredibly blessed. She's like my reward, my treasure. And you know what? I work hard for her. And if you don't work hard for the person you're with, and you don't love them and forgive them and rub their toes, you should start, because I'm telling you, the payoff is great. Life is good when you're happy, people. And you know what? 70 years is being declared in Israel. They're celebrating independence. Independence, people. Independence. That's what I've been talking about. And I didn't make the connections. I didn't put them all together. You know, I don't know how we get from flesh-eating bacteria to here. But like I said, it was kind of like the mosquito was like the bait, because I'm hoping you stick around for what I'm about to share, because this is the most important thing. So right now we see something being talked about a lot. It's the temple. Okay? Now, if you know anything about the temple, Now, there's a couple of different time frames that they say this temple was built in. Right here, you see that it was actually finished being built in 7 years. Then when it was rebuilt in the New Testament, we find out it was like 40 and 6 years. The Pharisees, they said 40 and 6 years this was in the making, and you're going to tear it down and rebuild it in 3 days? And they didn't understand that the temple that Jesus was talking about wasn't made by man's hands. It wasn't a place made by literal temporal man. The temple is us. That's why the temples are right here. Point to them. Right here. But, see, this is where it gets really cool. But as we hear about right now Israel and Jerusalem, and we hear about how we are now, right? We've moved the embassy there, and others are moving the embassy there, and now there's talk. There's talk on the hill, people. There's talk on the, prophetic hill that they're going to rebuild the temple. And then after that happens, the Antichrist is going to stand in that temple, declaring himself to be God. Now listen. First of all, you're the temple of God. Think about that for a second. So who would this Antichrist spirit be that just stands in the temple of God and declares himself to be God? I dare say that there is a spiritual side of the story and a literal side of the story. And we are going to be dealing with, for these 7 years, I hope, I've been dealing with it for a long time, the Antichrist spirit that is in us, as John said. And what does that mean? It's that liar in your head, that voice that gets you to hate people. It's that voice in your head that gets you to think that you're right and everybody else is wrong, that you don't need to apologize. That voice, that's that Antichrist spirit, declaring themselves to be God. In other words, are you ruled or are you ruling the temple? You're a temple. You are the temple. Are you the lead character of your life? Are you the hero? Do you go to work at the dollar store like my good friends and say to people, this is the Daily Planet. This is my Clark Kent job. You're looking at Superman. You're looking at Supergirl. Do you do that? Because really, that's just the part you're playing. You're listening to me here because the real story, the real thing that's going down is what's happening within. Because at the end of this story, what is it? I can give you a million things of what happens next. But I ain't been there. I can tell you I've been close to death. And I had some great vision and some great miracle. What's that going to help? The only journey that you need to be infinitely interested in is your journey. Because you're the center of your story, and within you, there is the center of us all. And that's what I'm trying everybody to get at. I'm trying to find the key to get us into that holiest of holies within the temple. Which, by the way, can only be accessed once that Antichrist spirit, that Barack Obama, no, I'm laughing. But it is interesting that his name kind of means lightning from heaven. And, if there was a literal guy that could play the part, could be him. Oh, and the false prophet, that could be Oprah, right? Because she helped to get him elected. Oh, we could go down that conspiracy train, and maybe that'll happen literally. I'm not making any declarations. I'm just talking because I know a lot of people talk about this stuff. But who would be the best false prophet, right? But Oprah, right? Think about it. She's so, really, and she spells her name backwards. Right, do the things backwards. That's the Illuminati. I mean, I'm making light of it, but I'm not, because that's the joke. I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about getting people to understand what the temple really is and what it really means. So really, figure out that negative voice in your head is not you, and stop listening to it. There's a great way to do this. You want to know how to do it? Okay. What's the recipe, Jacob? What book do I need to buy? You don't need to buy my book. I mean, you should. It's a great book, and I make it very difficult for people to buy it. You got to take a couple of steps to get there, because you should be interested before. I mean, I don't want people buying it and that, because it's a journey. And enough of that. I don't like to talk about my book too much, but it is cool. So listen, it's about your journey. You need to find out that voice in your head, that negative lie in your head, is not you. And take this advice. Simple recipe. Any thought that's in your head that doesn't bring you peace, any thought that brings you out of peace, any thought that gives you fear, and that thought is not like known, like for example, if somebody tells you, your house was broken into, that's not, I'm not talking about that kind of fear. I'm talking, somebody shows up a little bit late, they're supposed to be home, and you get 15 negative thoughts that pop in your head. None of them are true. But if you listen to them, you take them, and you follow them down to the end, the voice of that strange woman will lead you right into hell. Flat out. Says it in Scripture, Book of Proverbs. Trust me. And you don't want to do it. I've done it. I've listened to the wrong thought and then nurtured it. Oh, I can't believe that person would do that to me. And then it turns out it's like, their phone was just, they had it turned off. And then, of course, the next thought comes, oh, they're lying. They knew that you called. Yeah. If it brings fear, anxiety, anything, cast it out. And over the next 7 years, I have a feeling, I'm hoping. Now, listen, I'm not making declarations. Just so you know, I'm not saying I know anything. I'm not saying the temple's going to be built within the 7-year period. But wouldn't that be interesting? If in 7 years it's finally built, wouldn't that be something? I'm not saying it's going to happen. But also, I think that it has to happen. This is where the switch is turned over to the literal. For those of you that understand the deeper meaning of things and understand that you can read a story and see the truth of it and not have to necessarily witness it literally to believe it, okay? Which is what a lot of people have problems with. And by the way, yeah, I'll debate anybody anytime about the existence of God. I've studied many, many holy books, and I know Scripture like this, and any excuse that anybody would make that there is no higher being, no God, no meaning, or no purpose. Oh, you don't want me on the air with you. Not because I'm grumpy or anything, but because I'll make you look silly. I'll make you look silly because the very book that people try to use to claim that God exists is the same book that people use to say God doesn't exist. And yet I'll use the book to just show you don't need the book. But what you need is to look deeper. And I'm not saying you don't need the Bible. I wouldn't know any of this stuff. Please understand what I'm saying. Abraham didn't have a Bible, people. He didn't have a Bible. He didn't have an Old Testament, right? Okay? Jesus didn't have the New Testament. He was talking, He wasn't reading and then talking. Sometimes he'd quote, Isaiah, or sometimes he'd quote old Psalms. But in the grand scheme of things, I've got way off topic. Let's get back on the temple here. Okay, so maybe this temple's going to be built, right? Maybe that's what's going on right now. Maybe the temple that we should be interested in, however, is the temple that is us. And maybe, as I've been saying for a long time, that the reason I come on here and the things that I share, and when I say, if you go back, watch my September 23rd video, when everybody was saying, oh, Nebru's going to come and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. And the weather is crazy, and the things that are going on in the planets and everything else is crazy. I'm saying we got a little time, and I don't mean like we got a little time. You can take that out of context. I'm saying we got time. In the grand scheme of things, it's a little time, right? You got to make the most of your now. And you got to set your eye on the future, and you got to have a picture of what that future is. And like me, when I was saying that even though the drums of war are being shouted on high, I think that we may even see some kind of skirmish with Iran or something, or we'll hear that they're about to, or something like that, because it would just get everybody so scared, and then everybody get negative again, and everybody focus all of their anger and their resentment and their negative energy and their hate for their own life onto let's blow it all up, because that's really at the root of all this. Let's just tear it down. The world's coming to an end. They're out to get us. Yeah, there are people that are out to get us. But what if this is all a game, and you figure out, you get the keys to the game, you get the keys to the kingdom, you get that little back door that gets you through. You become like Neo in the Matrix. Isn't that interesting? And that's the day that we're in. I mean, you don't even have to believe in this stuff or not. There are a lot of people right now that maybe said, you know what, maybe I'm going to do that. Maybe I'm going to say, teach me the truth. Maybe there is more. He's not telling me where to go. And they found it. And they're finding that their lives are whatever they can imagine them to be in faith, while also considering their fellow man. So, so important. So while you're hearing this, you're hearing all this scary stuff, you're also hearing peace declared. I mean, that's legit right there. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that there's going to be peace. But I do find it quite coincidental. I mean, don't you? I'm going to go to the room. I'm going to ask a couple of... Let's take a look at what's going on here. Thank you, D. Hewitt. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. And Heather, you know, I appreciate the job that you're doing. Hi, Laura Johnson. How you doing? I appreciate you all being here. So listen, people. Really. The day that we're in, it really is quite a beautiful one. And it's really sad. I mean, it really is kind of a bummer to me that that so many people are just so hurt. Because I think that your wounds are about to be healed. I think that you may be going through that tribulation. You may be finding, you know, this is being trimmed off, that's being trimmed off, and you know, you had a house and now it's gone, or you had a relationship and now it's gone. You had a fortune, and now you're, you know, serving somebody at a Bennigan's. Are they still around? I don't even know if they're still around. I worked at Bennigan's. I liked working at Bennigan's when I was young. It's good times. Good times. Happy birthday on this your special day. Happy birthday is why I'm here to say, hey, see, I worked there. I worked there. You see, this is our life. It's our creation. We can do whatever we want with it. It's our ride. And I know that the world has done quite a bit to get you to think that the flesh-eating bacteria is going to come and get you. The nuclear bombs are going to drop, and you need to, you know, you're going to eat cockroaches to survive. I know that it's around every corner there's some horrible thing, whether it's the flu or what we're hearing about now, which may or may not be linked to genetically modified mosquitoes. But in the midst of the storm, in the midst of all the crazy weather, in the midst of all that, where are you? That's the important thing. Where are you? We can collectively change things, whether you know or not. Me and my wife, when we come together on anything, nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible. I told you the story of the boogie boards. That's nothing. The house that I'm in. The house that I'm in, if you've watched long enough, you know, way too expensive for my wife and I. It was her dream house growing up. She loved this house. Always wanted this house. We lived down the street in a house about a third of the size. But I said, baby, you know, if you see a future with us in there, let's do it. So together we came together, and we'd start by like peering into windows, and we'd start talking about where we're going to put this furniture and where we're going to put that furniture. And I'd tell her to call me. I'd say, before you come home, pull into the driveway, call me from our driveway. And we'd start to live in the our imagination of it. We started to dwell in that place. We went, you know, we snuck into the backyard, you know, and we'd sit down and we'd say, we're going to take down all that nonsense trees, and we're going to, you know, we're going to turn it into a saltwater pool, and we're going to put a solar panel on top so we can heat it up. We're going to do all this stuff, but, you know, we didn't have the cash for that. So we had to believe that it would happen. 1 year went by, the house went into foreclosure all of a sudden. Next year, sat there. Then it was boarded up the year after that. But we continued. Took 5 years. 5 years before somebody bought it and put it back on the market. And it was way too expensive for us. And everything was gutted and it wasn't redone. So I told Danielle, I said, Dan, we just have to believe that someone's going to buy this, fix the place up, and then sell it to us for less. 6 year. We went in, we put an offer. Guy laughed at us. I said, no. I said, we're going to get the house for that price. Same price as what we bought our little small house for down the road. A year later, they hit some hard times. They had to dump the house quick, and we bought it. in the 7th year. Isn't that crazy? And here I'm talking about this, and I wasn't even planning on telling you that story, and it all lines up. So that's my prayer. That's been my prayer, is give us at least another 7 years to get our act together. And if we get it together, because then good things are going to come. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So get your house right. Make up. Forgive. Love. And be cool, man. Above all things. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody in the chat room, and I want to say thank you all. Especially those that are in the super chat. And I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. I just love you. I love being on here, and I love that you're a part of my life. And I'm going to stay on the chat, and I'm going to do a little. So if you have any questions, and it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier if you want to talk to me if you stick around, and I'll stay on the in the chat after I go offline here. And I hope each and every one of you have the best day ever. And I will talk to each of you soon. Don't forget to have that dream. Imagine it. Live in it. Experience it. And seek more. Bye-bye.